You know, as we navigate these later chapters of life, our relationships with friends and family become even more precious. We lean on each other, share stories, and find comfort in connection. But have you ever found that sometimes, even with the people closest to you, sharing certain things well, it can complicate things. It can lead to misunderstandings, unsolicited advice that stresses you out, or even create tension where there was none before. It's a painful reality that sometimes the very act of opening up, intended to build closeness, can inadvertently create distance or discomfort. It makes you realize that maybe, just maybe, not everything needs to be shared with everyone, all the time, no matter how much you love them. There are certain parts of our lives, certain details, that are perhaps best kept private, not out of mistrust, but out of a deep sense of self-preservation and a desire for peace. Think of them as quiet corners of your life that belong just to you, or perhaps a very select few. In this video, we're going to gently explore 5 such areas, 5 secrets you might consider keeping private for your own well-being and smoother relationships. It's about setting healthy boundaries with grace and wisdom. Watch to the end for something that will surprise you. Let's start by talking about the first area where discretion can be your greatest ally. It's about your finances. Now, I know this can be a sensitive topic, and the idea of keeping financial details private from loved ones might feel counterintuitive, especially if you've always been open. But think about it. Sharing the exact details of your savings, your investments, the size of your pension, or especially any potential inheritance you plan to leave can open a Pandora's box you might not be ready for. Why? Well, money, even among the most loving families, can sometimes stir up complicated emotions, expectations, and even unintended pressure. Imagine sharing with a friend that you've managed to save a comfortable nest egg. While a true friend will simply be happy for you, others might suddenly start seeing you differently. They might feel less inclined to offer help if they perceive you as wealthy. Or worse, they might feel entitled to ask for loans or financial assistance, putting you in an awkward and potentially damaging position. It's not that they are bad people. It's just that knowing specific figures can change the dynamic of a relationship. Now, consider family. Discussing the specifics of your will or what certain family members might inherit is a classic example of something that often causes more harm than good when shared prematurely or in detail. Suddenly, siblings who got along perfectly might start competing or resenting each other based on perceived fairness or inequality before you're even gone. You might find yourself being treated differently by different relatives depending on what they think they might receive. This isn't about expecting the worst from your family. It's about acknowledging the complex emotional landscape that money can introduce. By keeping the precise figures and detailed plans of your estate private, you protect yourself from potential pressure, lobbying, and conflict. It allows you to make decisions based on your own values and legal advice, free from external influence or emotional appeals. You can still assure your loved ones that things are being taken care of, and that you've made thoughtful arrangements. But the specifics, those can often wait until they absolutely need to be disclosed by your executor or solicitor when the time is right. Think too about sharing details of specific, perhaps expensive, purchases you've made. Maybe you finally bought that comfortable new car you've been dreaming of, or you've planned a special trip. Sharing the experience is wonderful. Talking about the joy of driving the new car or the excitement of planning the trip, but detailing the exact cost that can sometimes invite comparisons, judgments, or even envy. It might make someone who is struggling financially feel worse about their own situation, or it could create an expectation among others that you have money to spare. Similarly, discussing the value or nature of gifts you've given to some family members or friends can unintentionally create imbalances or hurt feelings if others feel they received something less valuable or thoughtful. It's not about hiding your blessings. It's about sharing your life in a way that fosters connection and joy, rather than comparison or expectation. Your financial situation, in its precise detail, is fundamentally a private matter that impacts your security and peace of mind more than anyone else's. Maintaining a healthy boundary around this area isn't about being secretive. It's about being wise and protecting yourself and your relationships from unnecessary complications that money can so easily bring. By keeping these specific financial numbers and details private, you maintain your independence, avoid unsolicited financial advice or requests, and prevent potential discord among loved ones. It allows your relationships to be based on affection and shared interests, rather than on perceptions of wealth or future inheritance. Now, let's move on to something equally personal, but in a different way. Moving on to another area where perhaps a little less sharing is beneficial for your peace of mind, and that's the detailed, ongoing saga of your health issues. Now, I know we all worry about each other, and when a friend or family member is dealing with a health challenge, our natural inclination is to offer support, and absolutely, keeping loved ones informed about major health events, surgeries, or significant diagnoses is important and necessary for them to be there for you. But there's a difference between informing those who need to know or those who provide support, and turning every ache, pain, symptom, and doctor's appointment into a detailed, running commentary for your entire social circle or extended family. You know how it is. You ask someone, "How are you?" and you get a minute-by-minute breakdown of their digestive system or a blow-by-blow account of their last doctor's visit, complete with technical terms and graphic descriptions. While born from a desire to be open, this level of detailed sharing can sometimes have unintended consequences. For one, it can cause excessive worry among those who care about you. They hear every symptom, every setback, and might start catastrophizing, leading to them constantly calling or checking in with anxiety, which in turn can add to your stress. It's a cycle of worry that doesn't necessarily help anyone feel better. It can also attract a flood of unsolicited advice. Everyone suddenly becomes an amateur doctor, recommending various remedies, diets, supplements, or alternative therapies, often conflicting with each other and with your actual doctor's advice. Navigating through this mountain of well-meaning but potentially unhelpful suggestions can be exhausting and confusing. Furthermore, when you constantly share the minutiae of your health struggles, it can sometimes feel like that becomes your primary identity in the eyes of others. Every conversation revolves around your ailments. People start seeing you primarily as the one who is always sick, rather than the vibrant, multifaceted person you are. This can be isolating and make it harder for you to focus on other aspects of your life and identity that are important to you. It's about finding a balance. You can be open about needing support, or acknowledging that you're managing a health condition without detailing every symptom or treatment side effect. You can say, "I'm having a bit of a tough time with my back right now, but I'm doing physiotherapy and staying positive," rather than describing the exact nature and intensity of the pain, the exercises you did, and the conversation you had with the therapist. Or, "I had a doctor's appointment, and we're monitoring things closely," is often sufficient instead of recounting the full medical history, the doctor's exact words, and your interpretation of them. It's about protecting your energy and the quality of your interactions. You want to connect with people over shared interests, current events, family joys, and everyday life, not just over your latest medical update. Keeping some of the more intimate or repetitive details of your health private allows you to control the narrative, prevent unnecessary worry in others, avoid an avalanche of unsolicited advice, and ensure that your identity isn't solely defined by your health status. It frees up your conversations for lighter, more enjoyable topics and helps you maintain a sense of normalcy and privacy around a very personal aspect of life. This isn't about suffering in silence. It's about choosing carefully who you share the deepest medical details with. Perhaps your partner, your children if you choose, and of course, your healthcare providers, and keeping your broader social interactions focused on connection and life beyond illness. It's a boundary that respects your need for privacy and manages the emotional burden on both yourself and those who care about you. Now, moving on to another sensitive area that can become complicated when shared too widely. All right, let's delve into a third area where sharing can sometimes create more problems than it solves discussing relationship issues, particularly those within your immediate family, with friends or extended relatives. It's natural to want to vent when you're having a disagreement with your spouse, or feeling frustrated with one of your children, or navigating a tricky family dynamic. A close confidant, a trusted friend, can be incredibly helpful for processing emotions and getting a different perspective. However, there's a big difference between seeking counsel from one or two deeply trusted individuals and broadly sharing grievances or detailed conflicts with a wider circle of friends or relatives. When you air your dirty laundry about a spouse or child to friends, you might find temporary relief from venting, but you've also just painted a potentially negative picture of your loved one in someone else's mind. Later, when you and your spouse reconcile, or the issue with your child is resolved, those friends or relatives are left with the information you shared, and it can permanently alter their perception of your family members. They weren't there for the resolution, only the conflict. Think about how this can create awkwardness. If you've complained bitterly about your spouse to a friend, it might be uncomfortable for that friend to interact with your spouse later. Knowing what they know, it can also put friends in a difficult position, feeling they have to choose sides or perhaps losing respect for the person you complained about. Within families, discussing disagreements you have with one family member, say, a sibling or adult child with other family members like cousins, aunts, or uncles can be particularly damaging. It can create rifts and divisions within the extended family, making gatherings tense and fostering an environment of gossip and triangulation. You're essentially drawing others into a conflict that should ideally be resolved directly between the people involved. While it might feel good in the moment to get validation for your feelings, it rarely helps resolve the core issue with the person you're in conflict with. In fact, it can make resolution harder because now there are more people aware of the problem, potentially offering conflicting advice or holding on to grudges on your behalf. The most effective way to navigate relationship issues is usually to address them directly with the person involved, either on your own or with the help of a neutral third party like a therapist or mediator. Keeping the specific details of your marital spats or your disagreements with your children private allows you to work through them as a family unit, preserving the dignity and reputation of everyone involved within the wider social circle. It means that when you present a united front, or when things are good, people can believe it, because they haven't been privy to every argument. This boundary is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about respecting the privacy of your immediate family relationships and choosing the most constructive avenues for working through challenges. Oversharing relationship problems can erode trust, create unnecessary drama, and make reconciliation harder. By keeping the specifics private, you protect the integrity of your most important bonds and ensure that friends and extended family can enjoy relationships with individual family members based on their own interactions, rather than filtered through your grievances. Now, moving on to something that might seem less serious, but can still impact your peace. Continuing our conversation about wise boundaries, let's think about something that might not seem as heavy as finances or health, but can still cause discomfort or unintended consequences when shared too freely. The details of gifts given or received, or comparisons based on material possessions. It's wonderful to feel gratitude for a thoughtful gift or joy in giving something special. Sharing that feeling is lovely, but detailing the cost of a gift you received, or mentioning how much you spent on a gift for someone else, can be tricky territory. If you tell one friend the expensive value of a gift you received from another friend or family member, the listener might feel inadequate about gifts they've given you, or they might start comparing what they receive. Similarly, If you disclose the price of a gift you've given, it can come across as boastful or create an expectation for future gifts. The focus shifts from the sentiment behind the gift to its monetary value, which can cheapen the act of giving and receiving. It's also generally wise to avoid discussing or comparing material possessions in a way that highlights who has what or how much things cost. Saying, "Oh, look at my new TV. It cost a fortune," or "Their house is so much bigger than ours, and their car is brand new," can breed resentment, jealousy, or make others feel less fortunate. Even if it's not intended as bragging, it can be received that way. People are often sensitive about their own financial situations, and highlighting disparities in wealth or spending habits can create awkwardness or discomfort in social interactions. The joy derived from possessions is deeply personal. Sharing the use or experience of something new can be fine. We're really enjoying watching movies on the new TV. The picture is amazing, but focusing on the cost or making direct comparisons with others' possessions is rarely conducive to harmonious relationships. This extends to discussing how much things like renovations, holidays, or other discretionary spending cost. While you might share the excitement of a trip or the satisfaction of a home improvement project, detailing the financial outlay can sometimes feel inappropriate or boastful to listeners who may not have the same means. Keeping details about the cost of gifts and possessions private allows relationships to flourish without the underlying current of financial comparison. It promotes a focus on shared experiences, mutual interests, and genuine connection rather than material wealth. It prevents others from feeling inadequate or envious, and it prevents you from being perceived as someone who measures worth in monetary terms. It's a simple boundary, but one that can significantly contribute to more comfortable and equitable social interactions. Now, let's wrap things up by thinking about why maintaining these areas of privacy can lead to that sense of peace we touched on at the beginning. The surprise, perhaps, isn't a dramatic reveal, but a quiet understanding of the profound impact that mindful privacy can have on your life as you get older. It's not about shutting people out. It's about wisely curating what you share to protect your inner world and your relationships. So, we've talked about keeping the precise details of your finances close to your chest, protecting your peace of mind by not broadcasting every single health niggle, navigating relationship challenges privately rather than airing grievances widely, and sidestepping potential awkwardness by not detailing the costs of gifts or possessions. What does this all boil down to? It's about understanding that while vulnerability and openness are important in close relationships, there are certain types of information that, when shared too broadly or in too much detail, can inadvertently create stress, conflict, or change the dynamic of relationships in ways you didn't intend. It's not about being secretive in a negative sense. It's about being discerning and wise about the information you share, recognizing that some aspects of your life are deeply personal and don't require public commentary or external validation. Maintaining these boundaries isn't about building walls. It's about building healthy fences that protect your energy and your privacy, allowing your relationships to be based on genuine connection and affection rather than on the potentially thorny issues of money, health struggles, relationship drama, or material comparisons. It gives you control over your own narrative and prevents you from being defined solely by these aspects of your life. The surprise I mentioned at the beginning, perhaps it's realizing just how much peace of mind and how much smoother your interactions can become when you practice this kind of selective sharing. It's surprising how much mental and emotional clutter you can avoid by simply keeping certain things private. You might find you worry less about how others perceive your financial situation, feel less obligated to defend your health choices against a barrage of advice, experience less drama stemming from family conflicts discussed with outsiders, and enjoy interactions free from the subtle tensions of material comparison. This isn't about becoming distant or unapproachable. It's about deepening the quality of your connections by focusing on shared experiences, emotional support, intellectual exchange, and simple companionship, rather than burdening others or yourself with details that are intensely personal and potentially problematic. It's about choosing to share in ways that uplift and connect. While keeping other sensitive areas protected, remember, you have earned the wisdom and the right to decide what you share and with whom. Protecting your peace is one of the most valuable things you can do for yourself in this stage of life. Small changes in what you choose to keep private can indeed make a big difference to your health, happiness, and the harmony of your relationships. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Are there things you've learned through life experience are best kept private, even from friends and family? Share your insights and experiences in the comments below. Your perspective could be incredibly helpful to others in our community. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And don't forget to subscribe for more tips and discussions on living your best life at any age. Remember, live your best life at every age.